And so, alone, she set off for the altar that was in the Forgotten City to find out what she had to do. Indeed, the key was the last of the Cetra. It was the white materia that was passed down to her. As if it held the fate of the last remaining Cetra, this tool could summon the ultimate white magic, holy, needed to counter Meteor. It was the materia that was entrusted to Aerith by her mother, Ifalna. She had never used it before, and had always hidden it inside her ribbon, never leaving her. Finding out that she had it on her, she prayed with all her heart. Through the materia, she talked to the planet, trying to summon the white magic holy that could destroy Meteor. Even the slightest hesitance may have meant that her prayers wouldn't reach the planet. But she did it. The requirements were fulfilled before Sephiroth struck her. After realizing her intentions, she accepted the death that she had felt long ago as the sword pierced through her. She looked at peace. But a cry came through to her. It wasn't the sound of her cry. If it was, then she would have felt the blood gushing up through her throat and the fury that forced its way out from the depths of her soul. It was the sound of Cloud's heart breaking. It was the cry of his heart that could never be healed of the grief he had towards Aerith's death, the blame towards himself and the hatred he had for Sephiroth. She was surprised at the great sorrow he had for her. She was a little happy he thought so much of her. But she also felt the pain that was many times greater. There was nothing she could do about Cloud's suffering, and the pain ached in her heart. The pain continued even though she was in the Lifestream. Although she had lost her body, she recognized the pain by creating an image of herself in her mind. Aerith looked down as she put her hands to her throbbing heart. Before long, she realized something. All around her was the existence of countless numbers of consciousnesses. There were lots of voices and an abundance of memories. Everything around her was something that she never felt when she was in the church in Midgar. Like her, the souls of those that had died had returned to the planet and were all here. Even so, she couldn't see anyone nearby that had a form like she did. From what she saw, only she retained the image of her past self in the midst of flowing energy full of different consciousnesses.
I wonder if it's because I'm a Cetra.
The words came out as a murmur from Aerith. Here, words and thoughts were the same. As an entity of consciousness, her thoughts and feelings were only expressed as waves she emitted. Similarly, the huge number of memories in the Lifestream also reached her as all sorts of waves. All around her, she heard whispers of how if you didn't retain a strong ego, you would soon no longer know which consciousness belonged to you.
I was hoping my words would reach Cloud.
She puffed out her cheeks a little, looking displeased. She was not affected by the confusion of various consciousnesses that existed in the sea of memories and knowledge inside the Mako energy. Because of her experience of hearing the voice of the planet when she was young, she had built up a lot of patience. Aerith was raised so that she could retain her own consciousness and not lose her personality. But she understood returning to the planet depended on how she was separated as a whole. Even when water droplets fall into a river, they blend in and can't be seen anymore. No matter how used to things she was, she thought it was odd how her soul could still remain unique in the vast sea of conscious energy.
If it's because I'm a Cetra, then the Lifestream must be full of Cetra. My mother died and she was also a Cetra. But it's been 15 years. Maybe I'll become one with the planet and slowly disappear?
Slanting her head to the side, she thought more about it.
Will I be able to talk to Cloud somewhere? So I can tell him that I'm fine. It's kind of odd saying I'm fine, but maybe I'm still me down here.
Maybe she could be clear about her affections towards Cloud here. While living in Midgar, there were several times when she sensed souls that had died in faraway lands coming to Midgar to see their families or loved ones one more time, to tell them that they loved them. Those who still had those feelings, or had those feelings left behind them, could strongly retain their consciousness as a whole.
But does that mean I'll disappear as soon as I meet Cloud? I wonder if that's what's happening, or if there's something else I've still to do.
At that instant, Aerith felt something like an electric shock surge through her. She clenched one of her hands into a fist and hit the palm of her other hand as it struck her. It was only her imagining her phantom self hitting her hands together but she could clearly hear the clap.
It makes sense. There's a meaning to all of this. There must be some reason why I haven't merged with the Lifestream yet. Like how I was the only one in the world who had the materia to call holy. There might be something left I have to do.
Just when the thought crossed her mind, she felt a little commotion from the planet. It wasn't from the individual consciousnesses, but the planet as a whole, as if to confirm what she was thinking.
I see. I wonder what it is.
Her question was answered with silence. The planet, too, had yet to know what it was. She smiled like the flowers that she used to sell in the slums. In the gentle fluorescent light, the smile that was loved by everyone bloomed sweetly.
It's okay. There are still people I have to help. I can't rest yet. Until that time comes, I'll wander around here for a while. I'll spend my time here in the planet. In our promised land.
Wishing she could send away her thoughts, Aerith looked up at the sky. She looked beyond the shell of the planet above her head. The particles of Mako that floated and shot around looked like the night sky to her. She looked up into the sky like the time she sat beside Cloud around the kindling fire in Cosmo Canyon. In this world of Mako, Aerith knew the concept of time and distance was different from the surface. Time seemed to flow by slowly, and if she wanted, could also flash by in the blink of an eye. The passing of time in the Mako held no meaning in the first place. The planet's history was made up of accumulated memories, all merged together, and were always by her side. There were memories of the present, and also of the past. There was no way that Aerith could have seen all of them, but the events that were inscribed onto the memories had surpassed time and were all linked together as a whole. It hinted that time was moving into the future in the world of the living. As those new memories from the surface merged together with the planet, new life would be brought into the world as the energy from the planet is delivered. That cycle told her how time flowed by one period after another. Everything was linked to the insides of the planet through the Lifestream. Even on the surface, in the most distant places, the flow of conscious energy would be delivered. On the other hand, there were places that were so close, but yet the energy couldn't reach. There were areas that existed where even the winding flow of Mako can't get to. Aerith thought it must be the fault of all the Mako reactors. The energy was never meant to be used that way, and if they continued to draw it out by force, it would eventually upset the balance. If the planet could help humans live an easier life, then it probably would have done so. But Shinra Incorporated was going too far. If their greed was to continue, then the equilibrium of the planet's life would collapse. Aerith remembered how flowers would only bloom in the church, and how the city of Midgar was drenched in Mako.
And that's why the people of Shinra wanted to know where the Promised Land was. A land abundant in Mako energy, where only the Cetra knew how to get to. But that place is here. It's the place where everyone will go in the end, so they can return to the planet. The land where Shinra could obtain all the energy they wanted didn't really exist, did it? It was all just a mistake.
She murmured as she let herself drift with the Lifestream. She gazed at the moving Mako world that had very little change.
The Promised Land that Sephiroth had in mind was much different. He was trying to create it all by force. He was going to ruin the planet on purpose so that almost all the energy would gather in one place, so that he himself could control it all alone. That was Sephiroth's Promised Land.
Aerith shivered as she imagined what the planet would be like if that happened.
I wonder if Cloud and the others are alright. Tifa and Barrett. I hope they aren't pushing themselves too hard going after Sephiroth.
Cloud? Tifa? Barrett?
The waves of one of the consciousnesses right beside her expanded as it reacted to her words. She rushed to lead the current she was in, because it was the first time she came across another firm consciousness other than herself. When she reached the place where it came from, a shadow rose from the Mako. It wasn't as clear an image as Aerith, but she knew it was the remnant of a female.
You know them? Who are you?
It seemed her memory was muddled. It was probably because most of her soul had already merged with the Mako, but her core hadn't faded and was still drifting there as a whole.
Oh, I have to introduce myself first. I'm Aerith. Could you be one of Avalanche's members?
Avalanche. Yeah, that's right.
The memories she had were being reconstructed from the Sea of Mako. Realizing who she was once again, her transparent figure rapidly returned to the form she had when she was on the surface. As if Aerith had some influence on her, the colors also came back to her. Compared to Aerith, she still looked faint, but she looked human now, and the clothing she had worn also reappeared. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail so that it wouldn't get in her way, and her clothing looked like that of a soldier. She, too, had arrived here too early.